Alexia Beckford. You're watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. A population slowdown, IDB's rupee bond, and the tariffs sink freight rates. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Thursday, October 16, 2025. I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast, locally, population slowdown hits 50-year low as Jamaica's urban expansion surges. On the regional front, IDB raises 2 billion Indian rupees bond, powering the Caribbean development push. And over on the global stage, US-China trade wars sink trans-Pacific freight rates. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-9235-111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading. Better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a bold leap into the future of work and technology. Amber Group is taking Jamaica's AI ambitions beyond the screen and into the real world. A move Amber's founder says will position the country at the front line of the global robotics revolution. The company is rolling out a new generation of intelligent robots designed to transform how businesses operate, from hotel service and retail assistance to warehouse logistics. Founder and CEO Deshant Savadia made the announcement at Amber's 10th anniversary AI Innovation Showcase on Tuesday, describing robotics as the third major wave of artificial intelligence.
But the third phase of AI has already started, which is the physical AI. And that is where we are going next, because everything that you see that you could do with your hands before is now automated by a robot. Everything is becoming robotics based, and we also know that as a technology business, if we don't keep up with robotics, which is the next phase of evolution of AI, we will be left behind in the world. What does that mean really? Robotics is the next generation of AI. That means that when you buy a robot, like you buy a laptop of Windows, what happens? It just comes with a basic Windows platform. If you're a lawyer, you add your own software. You're an accountant, you add your own software. Whatever skills you want, you add those skills into the laptop, right? This is how you operate a laptop. You buy a standard laptop and add the software you want. So in our world of AI, and agentic AI, we also know the next revolution by 2026 is going to be robotic AI.
Amber says several types of robots are expected to arrive on the island by December.
To give you a little idea of Amber Robotics, this is our product line overview. Of course, this is not only for Jamaica, it is global, but it will be in Jamaica too in December. What we did, we started, I'll just give you a quick idea of the various robots. So one is a cleaning robot. Then we also have industrial delivery bots, which are going to be here also next month. What are they going to do? Instead of humans lifting kilos and kilos and tons of weight on themselves and breaking the back, the bot does it all by itself. We also have cleaner robots. They're very tiny, very, very small. But what they really do is also wet cleaning. And then we have semi-humanoid robot. These are for hotels, mainly, that it can actually pick stuff from the kitchen and deliver it to the room.
That was founder and CEO of Amber Group, Deshant Savadia. Jamaica's AI economy is on the brink of its biggest test yet. More than 1,000 innovators, coders, and first-time builders are set to converge at the AC Hotel in Kingston this weekend for what's being billed as the largest AI hackathon in the Caribbean. Hosted by Intellibus, the 36-hour in-person sprint is open to anyone with curiosity and a drive to build, no coding background required. Founder and principal of Intellibus, Ed Wattal, says the event will help propel the island's next generation of high-income digital workers.
Our dream is that, at some point in the next few years, Jamaica can create 10,000 high-paying software engineering jobs. And that won't happen if enough people who truly are interested come forward. You don't have to, and it's not about being an existing software engineer, right? Yeah. Because otherwise it'll be so limiting. Yeah.
Mr. Wattal says the hackathon isn't just for winners. It's opening doors to real job opportunities.
Job opportunities is not just for winners, and being a winner doesn't automatically give you a job opportunity. You're a winner, you get a prize. If you're there at the hackathon, that's your first chance to be in that journey of getting a job, right? You take the GQ test. If the GQ test is good enough, you get a job.
That was founder and principal of Intellibus, Ed Wattal. Caribbean Cream Limited has reported a 12% increase in revenue for the 6 months ended August 31, 2025, but profits melted under the heat of higher costs, squeezing its bottom line. Half-year revenues climbed to $1.63 billion, up from $1.49 billion a year earlier. Second quarter sales also rose to $825.56 million compared to $731.10 million in 2024. The company credited the uptick to steady product availability, stronger distribution channels, and more third-party sales. But cost surged. The cost of sales jumped 20% to $1.14 billion, with the quarter's cost rising to $565.27 million from $452.31 million. Creamy says higher contract labor, waste disposal, and IFRS lease cost drove the increase. That pressure pushed gross profit down 9% to $493.75 million for the half year and down 6% to $262.68 million for the quarter. Operating expenses also edged up to $507.09 million. Still, the company returned to the black, posting a net profit of $24.21 million for the quarter, compared to a $12.59 million loss last year. Total assets rose 10% to $2.06 billion, with inventory at $292.38 million and receivables at $118.62 million. In other news, Jamaica's population is growing at its slowest pace in half a century, a demographic shift with far-reaching economic implications. According to the 2022 Population and Housing Census released on Thursday by Statistical Institute of Jamaica, the country's population stands at 2.7 million, an increase of just 2.88% since 2011. In a press briefing on the same day, Director of Censuses, Demographic and Social Statistics at Statin, Stacey Ann Robinson, says that translates to an average annual growth of 0.24%, the lowest rate recorded since the 1970s.
That Jamaica's population in 2022 was 2.7 million, an increase of 2.8% compared with the 2011 census, the previous census year. The average annual growth rate of 0.24% was the lowest over the period 1970 to 2022. The growth rate observed was influenced by a 42.2% decline in the births, moving from 747,788 to 432,018 over the intercensal periods 1970 to 1982 to 2011 to 2022. And it was further impacted by population losses due to deaths moving from 188,993 to 236,687.
That was Director of Censuses, Demographic and Social Statistics at Statin, Stacey Ann Robinson. We go now to updates from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Thursday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $161.41, the Canadian for $116.08, the pound sterling for $215.94, while the going rate for the euro is $190.46. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 110 stocks, of which 35 advanced, 52 declined, and 23 traded firm. Leading the winners are Paramount Trading Jamaica, ISP Finance Services, Margaritaville Turks, and Sagicor Real Estate X Fund. Leading the losers are Pulse Investments, 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference, VM Investments, and First Rock Real Estate Investments. The main index declined by 930.58 points or 0.29% to close at 321,599.01 points. The junior market index advanced by 6.82 points or 0.20% to close at 3,368.79 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we're defining the term Cost of Goods Sold, or COGS. COGS refers to the direct expenses involved in producing or acquiring the products a company sells, including costs like raw materials and direct labor. It does not include indirect expenses such as distribution or sales staff costs. This figure is critical on financial statements because it's deducted from revenue to calculate gross profit, which shows how efficiently a company uses its resources. COGS is listed as an expense on the income statement. While higher COGS can reduce taxable income, it also lowers net profits. That's why companies often work to keep the cost low to maximize profitability.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
We're here to open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for Save to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. The Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, has taken another bold step in global capital markets, issuing 2 billion Indian rupees in offshore Indian rupee bonds to expand its lending firepower for development projects across Latin America and the Caribbean. The notes, carrying a 7.35% coupon and maturing October 6, 2030, mark the 9th tranche of the bank's Series 884 issuance. This brings the total size of the series to approximately 78 billion Indian rupees, or just over 918 million US dollars. Although the bonds are denominated in Indian rupees and listed on the London Stock Exchange, the funds raised will flow back into IDB's global debt program, the engine that finances climate resilience, infrastructure, and private sector investment across the Caribbean and Latin America. By tapping the offshore rupee market, the IDB is diversifying its funding base, lowering borrowing costs, and ultimately unlocking cheaper financing for member states such as Jamaica, Barbados, the Bahamas, and Trinidad and Tobago. This means more room to accelerate renewable energy investments, build climate-smart infrastructure, and support digital transformation, critical priorities for small island economies facing rising climate and economic pressures. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is outlining an ambitious medium-term plan aimed at boosting foreign exchange inflows, accelerating diversification, and restoring investor confidence. Finance Minister Devendranath Tanku says the administration is zeroing in on agriculture and agro-processing, manufacturing, tourism, and digital transformation as engines of growth.
Diversification remains at the heart of our strategy. We are already focusing on agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, and the service industry, amongst others. Increasing investments and facilitating growth in agriculture and agro-processing will not only support the diversification thrust, but also strengthen our agricultural base for food security and reduce our food import bill. We will also focus on expanding manufacturing exports, boosting medical, sport, health, education, and cultural tourism, and accelerating digital transformation, amongst others. These are expected to generate employment, increase foreign exchange inflows, and create opportunities for young people and small businesses.
That was Trinidad and Tobago's Finance Minister, Devendranath Tanku. St. Kitts and Nevis is moving to modernize its investment climate with a revised investment code designed to make doing business in the Twin Island Federation more investor-friendly. The announcement came during a national consultation on the government's Sustainable Island State Agenda on Wednesday, where Permanent Secretary of Economic Development and Investment, Adina Richards, outlined new measures to attract both local and foreign capital.
We are dedicated to improving the investment climate to make it easier for investors to participate confidently. Therefore, currently, As a ministry, we are collaborating with a donor agency to update the Federation's investment code. This revised code will foster and attract investment by establishing a transparent, stable, and predictable legal environment while also ensuring oversight and minimizing risks to the country. The new code will enhance transparency and upgrade existing commercial laws to encourage both domestic and foreign investment.
That was St. Kitts and Nevis Permanent Secretary of Economic Development and Investment, Adina Richards. We move now to Grenada, where the government is marking World Food Day with a bold plan to reshape the country's poultry industry in a bid to slash imports and strengthen food security. Agriculture Minister Lennox Andrews says the government has approved a 40% guaranteed market share for local poultry producers. In an address earlier today, Minister Andrews says the combined push is expected to lift local output from just 5% to £8 million by 2027, giving farmers a larger, more secure share of the domestic market.
In September 2024, the Cabinet of Ministers approved a poultry policy which guarantees local producers a 40% market share for poultry meat and aims to increase local production from about 5% to £8 million by 2027. These policy goals are to transform the industry, reduce import dependence, and improve food security through strategic development, which includes a new national hatchery funded by the government and ADM Caribbean Agro.
That was Grenada's Agriculture Minister, Lennox Andrews. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 16 securities, of which 4 advanced, 6 declined, and 6 traded firm. Today's winners are JMMB Group, Guardian Holdings, Unilever Caribbean, and Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago, while leading the losers are Ansem Merchant Bank, A.S. Bryden & Sons Holdings, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, and National Enterprises. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All-TNT Index declined by 16.39 points to close at 1,423.84. The Composite Index declined by 7.92 points to close at 982.67. The Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.18 points to close at 71.45. The SME Index remained at 99.17. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? Can you go party tonight?
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time, the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. I want to come look over my stock portfolio.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
Welcome back. In international news, container freight rates on the Trans-Pacific are tumbling as the U.S.-China trade war moves from tense talks to full confrontation. Prices on the key Asia-U.S. West Coast route fell 8% to $1,431 per FEU, while East Coast rates also dropped 8% to $3,015, according to the Freightos Baltic Index. The plunge comes just days before new U.S. port fees on Chinese ships take effect and a matching tonnage tax by Beijing on U.S. flagged vessels. China's move also targets operators with at least 25% U.S. ownership, creating fresh uncertainty for public tanker operators. AP Moller Mayers has already diverted vessels away from China to South Korea to limit exposure. Meanwhile, excess capacity from new tonnage and resumed Red Sea traffic is adding more pressure on rates. Asia North Europe prices are down 9% and Asia Mediterranean rates are off 4%. And that trade clash isn't just roiling the seas, it's also hitting strategic industries back on U.S. soil. American battery technology company is vowing to continue its $2 billion lithium mine and refinery project in Nevada despite losing a major federal grant. The stock plunged more than 35% after the United States Department of Energy, DOE, terminated a $58 million award meant to support plant construction. The move is part of Donald Trump's reversal of Biden-era green energy incentives, but CEO Ryan Melsert says the project remains on track for 2027 completion, supported by $52 million raised on capital markets. The cancellation came the same day China tightened rare earths export controls, a move that rattled global markets and underscored lithium's strategic importance in the energy and EV supply chain. American Batteries stock, which soared 1,000% over the past year, suffered steep losses over 2 trading sessions. The company has appealed the DOE's decision. And while energy and trade tensions dominate the headlines, the pace of innovation in AI continues to reshape corporate strategy. DocuSign is accelerating its AI ambitions to keep up with OpenAI as the global tech race heats up. The company is betting on AI agents to automate contract workflows built on OpenAI's models and tools from Google, Microsoft, and Anthropic. Despite a 23% stock decline year to date, the company posted $801 million in quarterly revenue, up 9% year on year, beating expectations. It also raised full-year guidance to around $3.2 billion. JP Morgan analyst Mark Murphy called the performance a return to normalcy and boosted the price target to $80. The United States Department of Energy has finalized a $1.6 billion loan guarantee to AEP Transmission to modernize nearly 5,000 miles of transmission lines across 5 U.S. states. The project will boost grid capacity to meet surging power demand from data centers and AI systems. AEP, a unit of American Electric Power, still relies heavily on coal, gas, and nuclear power. The financing is the first loan under the new Energy Dominance Financing Program, a key pillar of Donald Trump's energy strategy, which favors traditional fuels over clean energy. The administration also recently canceled $7.6 billion in clean energy grants across 16 states, including major hydrogen projects in California and the Pacific Northwest. And that's a wrap on today's top international stories. From plunging freight rates and the battle over lithium to major moves in AI and a shifting U.S. energy strategy. Stay with CBX Business News. When we return, we'll bring you a quick recap of the top stories making headlines this evening. Don't go anywhere.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books
and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, population growth hits 50-year low as urban Jamaica expands. Regionally, IDB raises 2 billion Indian rupees bond powering Caribbean development push. And internationally, US-China trade war sinks trans-Pacific freight rates. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
Hi, I'm Melanie Levy.